Hello everyone, and this is Have Faith, Let It Begin. My name is Angel. We want to welcome every single person on the air here today that has joined us, and we want to thank all of our new viewers that have come aboard over the weekend. We hope that all of you continue to subscribe to our channel, and we want to thank you for participating in our weekday podcast designed for you, the daily commuter. This is part 2 of depression. As many of you have already heard part 1, which was aired yesterday, we want to continue on right off the bat for part 2. And as always, I would like to just start off by thanking GABBIE SANTANA for the use of our theme song, Tested. We thank you for everything you've brought to our channel and our show. We ask all of our viewers and our listeners to visit her YouTube channel, GABBIE SANTANA. Let's get started and continue on with part 2 of depression. So, as all of you noticed in the first part, I kind of went a little bit fast according to the way my life went from being a child all the way to where I am today. I want to take a step back and get a little bit more detailed because I've had a lot of great feedback within a 24-hour period about how that episode aired, but they wanted a little bit more knowledge as to how I overcame that depression, but more detailed. So this is the best way I can explain it and start from here. For some of us, depression can be different things. For myself, and I only can speak from my own personal testimony, my depression really comes from insecurity. And a lot of the insecurity that I have dealt with my weight. And for those that know me, my weight has fluctuated over the years. And for those that are just knowing who I am recently, you probably wouldn't even noticed it because, quite frankly, I carry myself, with my chin up, and I don't let people see that side of me. Now, I don't want to say that I mask, because I guess I kind of do, but I don't want to say that I mask who I really am, because I am who I am. I am a person that's really happy all the time, despite my insecurities. I really believe that life is great, and I believe that life is too short, and we shouldn't take life for granted. But I can't help but, deep down inside feel the way I do when it comes to my weight. And it's something that I have struggled with my entire life. The hardest part for me is not worrying so much anymore about what people think. It's really what I think. And where I want to start with this part 2 is this. As I got older and I was in the club scene, I would go out, and a lot of my friends were very good looking guys. These were the guys that when you walk into the bar, heads would turn. And I guess you can say, maybe from my perspective, I wasn't that guy that maybe turned heads so quickly. My biggest I guess you could say my greatest asset was I knew that I could dance, and a lot of the guys that I went out with that were looking for a female companion or looking to get numbers, so to speak, they didn't really dance too much. They relied more on their on their looks and their personalities, because their personalities were good. And I'm not saying that as a diss on them by any means. It's just some people have just better qualities and better things that they can, feel more secure on. Mine was dancing. So when I would go to a club, and I would dance, I would have no problem being out there and enjoying the music and feeling good about myself. But there was an incident that happened at a club once. And I really have never shared this story, so I'm going to really put myself out there. But it broke my heart, and there's a lot of real, if you've heard my topics about rude people, there's a lot of rude people out there in the world. And, all I can do now is I'm in a better place. So, when I encounter somebody who's rude, I really pray for them, and I wish them nothing but the very best. And I don't get myself caught up in that type of drama, because I don't want to put myself out there to get hurt, but more importantly, it's not worth the energy to allow somebody to come up and steal my joy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, so there are times where people do get through the wall that I have, and they can break it. But back to the story. I'm sorry, I went a little bit off. So I was at the club, and I was out with my friends, and we had a great time. We ended up meeting two young ladies that on the dance floor, and they seemed to like our company, and we're dancing, and everybody's great and having a good time. And at one point, one of the young ladies asked if we can get us a round of drinks, and I offered to buy. And this again was in my 20s and my late 20s, and I went to the bar to get them drinks. And as any of you know, in the club scene, when you go back to the dance floor, sometimes a new song hits and everybody hits the dance floor. So in this case, as I bought the drinks and on the way back, it was a new song that just dropped, so to speak, and everybody's on the dance floor. And now I can't find them. And as I was locating, my good friend, and his name is Jay at the time, and he was looking for Jay and the two young ladies. I spotted Jay, who was coming actually in my direction, and he's like, "Listen, I got to go to the restroom. I'll meet you back on the dance floor." He took his drink. I had the remaining 3 drinks in my hand, and I started heading back to the dance floor. And he's like, "Oh, they're over there. They're over by the third speaker or something like that on the right." And so I'm like, "Okay." So I still couldn't really find them, and ironically, I found myself going in a direction where it eventually put my back to the 2 young girls. I didn't know they were behind me until I heard their voices. And just before I could turn around, one of the girls said, "Do you like the guy?" And she's like, "Yeah, Jay's great. I think he's really good looking. I'm definitely going to give him my number." And the other girl was like, the girl was like, what about your guy? Angel, he seems like a really cool guy." And she turned around. I'll never forget. She turned around. She says she didn't turn around, but she yelled out loud. She goes, "Oh my God, no, he's so ugly and he's so fat." Oh my God. When I heard that, it really broke my heart. It was it just killed me. It ruined it for me, I never went back to the club in Rhode Island after that. And that's bad. No one should do that to you. And just to be fair, because I know probably everybody's thinking, what'd you do? How did you react to that? Honestly, I waited an extra few minutes, and then I showed up with the drinks, gave her the drinks. I actually finished the night off dancing, had a great time, and believe it or not, she actually asked for my number, and I told her that, I wasn't looking for anything right now, and that, I just really wanted to go out and have a good time. And I didn't give her the satisfaction to give her my number. So I think she realized that I wasn't interested. And it's funny because it seemed like she was annoyed by that. But if I didn't want to give her I didn't want to just come out and say, "I heard what you said about me." Because at the time, it wasn't even worth it. So I just moved on. So where am I going with this? The purpose of what I'm saying to you is, at that moment, it made me realize that I already suffered from having this issue inside of me that I didn't feel like I looked good. And it put me to the point where it broke me down. It made me really get hurt. And the great thing about it was that around that time, I was asked to move temporarily to Louisville, Kentucky for an assignment. They needed a troubleshooting manager / a manager to go over there on assignment to help out the office. So it came at the right time, and I decided to take that offer and get out of here, get out of Rhode Island for 3 months. And I made that choice, and I went. And look how God works. This is amazing. So I get on a plane, and I head over to Louisville, and this is where I meet my best friend, one of my 3 best friends that I have, and his name is Chip. He was actually already moved from Ohio to Kentucky on a permanent assignment. He upped and moved, and we had the same thing in common. We actually were able to experience the same thing, meaning as far as being in a town where we didn't know anybody, no family, no friends, and we actually had that that bond. And I'm so grateful that God put me in that position, because I'm so honored to tell you that I'm still friends with Chip to this day. This is back in 2004. And we had the greatest time, the greatest 3 months ever. And it's where I met the young lady who actually I just recently reached out to, so I can point out to all of you what her name was. Her name was Gretchen. She was a good friend of mine, and I was able to rekindle a friendship there, and she was a big part of allowing me to feel great about myself, make me feel that I was more than capable of finding true love, more than capable of finding the right girl, and she boosted my ego, so to speak. So for that, I thank her. She was a really good friend, and she was going through her own problems at the time, and it was just great to have that, that other opinion based off of, a female perspective. So fast forward, after being there for 3 months and having a fire reignited, so to speak, when I left there, and I left there with having a brand new friend, but having the ability to have my chin up and feel better about myself, it put me in a better spotlight to understand who I was as an individual. When I got back into town, I also added something that was lacking, and I added church to that. I was able to go back to church and volunteer my services to the church that was right next to my apartment. And that's where my faith started to get really strong. That's where my attitude on my life and the way I looked got better, got stronger, got wiser. And then by the time 2006 hit, when I decided to go back to New York so that I can fulfill my first dream at the time, and that is to graduate college. When I went back and I decided to do that, my first 2 weeks at college, I ended up having an anxiety attack, which I described on a previous episode. And the anxiety attack was because I didn't like to fail, and I had not failed in a long time. And I remember, as I have said in many episodes, it's okay to fail. You can't be afraid. And at the time, I was. And there's going to be an episode coming up because I went to a service the other night, and it's called "Slavery to Fear." That'll be coming up, and I'll get more detailed about that. But about being, being fearful of many things and not being a slave to it. But yeah, so I had an anxiety attack, and I had really good friends at the time that helped me with Chip being in Kentucky, and then meeting up and rekindling friendships between Randy and Heath. These are two guys that I went to high school with, and they really brought my spirits up, and they made me feel great that I was around them. And I wish that my relationship with them would be stronger to this day, but I don't know why things don't happen the way I feel that they should. But, if those guys are listening, there'll always be a special place from you. I care about you guys a lot. You guys are really good friends of mine, and hopefully one day we can rekindle the four horsemen, so to speak, between Brian, Heath, Randy, and myself. So God got involved for me by taking me out of my comfort zone and putting me in a location that I had never done before. I went into a new state. I battled new obstacles. I met a friend. I was able to overcome fears, and I was able to move forward and make myself and allow myself to feel wanted again as an individual, and then eventually come back to Rhode Island to realize that it was now a different side of me. There was a different part of me that was woken, and that allowed me to make another decision to go back to school, to go back to New York. And as I'm going through New York and then rekindling new friendships and getting over the anxiety of failing tests, which eventually started to pass, then God gave me my wife. He presented me by meeting her in 2007. So 3 years later, I meet my wife. So my depression may have lasted for 2 years, and I lost a lot of weight. And I had said that I lost a lot of weight unhealthy. I want to explain what that meant by that. I just wasn't eating a lot. I was working so many jobs and not sleeping. That's why I lost weight. I am grateful that I never did drugs, and I never got involved with people that did drugs. So for that, I'm grateful. And I know that there's people out there that suffer from that, and I know it's not hard. I know it's not easy, and I know that I have friends that have battled and are currently battling addiction and are overcoming addiction, and we're praying and we're hoping and knowing that God will turn that around. But I just wanted to throw that episode out to really kind of get more detailed as to why the depression episode was so important. I can honestly tell you that as of today, this is August of 2018, I am no longer in that depression. There are days when I wake up a little sad. I'm not going to lie. We're human, because we'll have a bad week at work, or a bad thing that comes up, or a bad memory that maybe presents itself, or an anniversary of a death or anything like that. It does. But I have to always take 3 steps back, and I say to myself, Angel, life is so short, and life can be so much harder. Be grateful for what we have. Be grateful for the show that you have, for the ability to go out and touch people's lives. Be grateful for the wife and the family and the future daughter you're going to have. And that's what I do. So I'm just encouraging all of you that when you have those depression days, when you're going through those depression days, try to dust yourself off. And if you are a person of faith, pray to God and know that He is with you. If you're not a person of faith, know that this show is here for you. I am here for you. And even if you don't agree with prayer, know that I will pray for you. Reach out to me in an email, and know that there are people out there that are praying. So, as I'm recording this, I can't help but also, think about the people that are in Hawaii that are suffering from hurricane right now. And here we are talking about insecurities, and then talking about all these other things that are going on in our lives. Yet there's people out there that are, behind shelters, or probably waking up and not having a home. Things could be a lot worse, folks. They could be a lot worse. So with that being said, I just pray that all of you got something out of this episode, and know that a depression can happen, but friendship, love, faith, honesty, trust, and communication can overcome anything, especially when you have faith. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. Have faith. Let it begin. Let's pray for those in Hawaii.
Don't you see that your faith is coming alive?